Happy market day. So it is currently 7 a.m. and I don't want to be awake. So this market is from 10 to 5. So similarly to a previous market video that I will tag up here, this is a chocolate festival, which feels wrong to bring crochet plushies to, as well as pottery, but we did really well last time. So these chocolate festivals allow a handful of gift vendors, which is what I classify as. So I do have to pay more than the chocolate vendors, which is a little frustrating, but I mean, I also kind of get it. But the chocolate vendors get also paid back for their samples, so it's essentially free for them to go to this once you factor in how much they get paid back for their samples. But regardless, I'm not a chocolate vendor. But what's nice about this is because it's mainly chocolate vendors, I don't have to worry as much about competition. And I don't get upset when there are other potters or crocheters if there's the correct amount at markets, because everyone deserves to make money for their hard work. But it is an added bonus when you are the only vendor of your kind. So it is community over competition, but this market is nice because it is most likely going to be just me there who does crochet or pottery. So this market is 10 to 5, and it is a ticketed event, and they have already sold 3,000 tickets for the day. So 10 to 5 is for VIPs only, and I believe they said it's between 350 and 400 tickets for that, and then the remainder of the day will be about 3,000 more. So we are doing this market alone, which is going to be stressful. Henry wasn't going to come anyway because he just worked 5 16-hour days, but his job did push it to a 6th 16-hour day. So Henry is actually at work today, which sucks for him. But I do need to pack my lunch because I will be there alone. I have to be able to feed myself without leaving my booth, and then I need to just pack all the electronics. Most of them were plugged in overnight, so I just need to grab them and make sure I don't forget anything, because that's of course something that happens all the time. But I was going to bring my tripod to this market, but apparently when I brought it to the last market, even though I didn't use it at the last market, I lost a piece to it, which is the piece that screws into the camera. So we're going to have some fun angles today at the market. But they do provide an 8-foot table. So hopefully I packed my 8-foot tablecloth. I found 2, and I wasn't sure which one it was, so I just threw them both in the car. So that's just going to replace my 6-foot table. And my car is still packed from last weekend. It has everything but the tent. The tent came out. But I'm going to ignore the tent weights and my 6-foot table that's already in the car because I wasn't about to unpack it just to take a table out. But I guess I will see you when we get to the market. It's 9:30 and we are all set up. Currently, my neighbor is not here to my right in their corner, so I'm kind of hoping they don't show up, and then I can rotate a little, but we'll have to see. Some people do show up last minute, but 30 minutes to set up is pushing it by a lot. But we do have quite a bit of backstock. I have almost a full duffel bag, so hopefully the things that I have restocked up, so unlike last week, so that I can actually restock. But I'm making a goal of 1,200 for these 7 hours. In April, when I was here, I believe it was about 1,400. I'll put the exact number on the screen.
They're not heavy duty enough, but I don't know really if they could be.
Hopefully we have a really good market. This is how the setup is looking. So I tried to mix it up a little and put the bigger plushies over here. The best sellers kind of in the middle, and then things I want to sell on top. And then we had a little bit of overflow over here. And then some Halloween plushies. My giant unicorn. And then we have our pottery set up, and those are all the herb strippers I have left, so I definitely need to go make more. We got our first 3 sales back to back at around 10:20, so we're at $63 already. And I'm sure you saw on the screen already, but last year April was $1,755, so I was totally off. I just realized at 10:25 the axolotls weren't out, so they have not ideal placement, but they're out now. We are ending VIP hour at $83, so not too much for the first hour, but this was a little bit more expensive to come in. And now the crowd is definitely starting to pick up. The VIPs were mostly here for their special chocolates. So this is the point last year where I got overwhelmed, or I keep saying last year, April last time. So hopefully I don't get overwhelmed. I am going into it with the headspace that it's going to get really busy for the next couple hours. So hopefully that helps me out. But I am excited because I get to use a barcode scanner again. So go watch my January market. I ended up spilling or breaking a can of orange Fanta in my bag with all my electronics and broke my barcode scanner, which was like $300 because Shopify is very particular about what you use. But literally a couple weeks ago, I got an email saying that was no longer the case. So we were able to get a really cheap, I want to say this was like $30. And it's actually working, so it's very nice to have a barcode scanner again. The second hour of sales was much busier. We are now at $448, so almost $400 in that first hour of general admission. So a lot's going on. Actually $466, so just updated. This is what the crowd looks like at 12. Someone just bought the Jackalope. That is so exciting. So that one is so cute. Hi!
Are you all by yourself tonight?
Yeah.
Would you like a bathroom break?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Alright, it is now 1:22, and like I mentioned, someone bought the Jackalope, so that was super exciting. But I was gonna give you an update on sales. We're at 800 something, but now of course it won't load now that I'm recording. But that means that we are super close to our goal, and we're not even halfway through the market. So unlike last week, everything seems to be selling about equally. So between my best sellers that I have a bunch of back stock in, and then others that I don't exactly have a repeat of. Excitingly, some of the baby squids are selling, and I have quite a few of those because that is the pattern I decided to test out a bunch of the chenille basics of the multi and the tie-dye colors just to see how they kind of work up, because when it's in a skein versus worked up, it's different. So it was nice to kind of see all of those. And so those are finally starting to sell. I think we've sold 2. I guess that's not too many, but that big Jackalope sold. I think that's the highlight of today. I definitely need to make more caps. So I brought 4. I haven't had caps in quite a while, but I'm down to 1. And the white with tweed definitely sold pretty quickly over the 2 tweeds mixed together. I only have 3 possums left, so I really need to get some gray yarn so I can make some possums. The non-octopus pocket pal bucket needs restock, so that's like spiders and stingrays. Whales, I don't have any of those. Axolotls, I'm out of greens now. I could use some more pink. Honestly, I could use some more of all the colors, so. It's now 2:40, and the traffic has definitely started to lull, but I believe there's another group of tickets that start at 3, but it's 2:40, and I've hit the point where I'm bored. The problem is I want a snack, but I didn't bring any snacks. I just didn't think about it. And the curse is there's just a bunch of food around me, but I can't go get any because I'm by myself. But they're playing bingo right now if you hear them talking. Hopefully you can hear me over them. I hope. But we finally reached 1,000. So we're at $1,011.50 without tax. So I do have it show me net sales. It does say compared to April, we are down 26%, so we're definitely not going to get the $1,700 that we did in April. But I think we're still right on track to get our $1,200 goal, hopefully a little bit above that. $1,400 would be ideal. That way it's $200 an hour in terms of sales, which is about what we're averaging at. It's all over the place. That 11 to 12 was almost 400, and then the hour before was, what, 80? All over the place. But we sold another big thing. So the big ghost with a bee hat sold, which I think that one I'm more excited about because that is from last year. And I was scared it was going to have to go back into storage again. So I'm glad it sold. But we're definitely starting to get a little bit lower on Halloween plushies, which is fantastic because we have one more market until Halloween. So I want all of that too. So this is what the booth looks like with about 15 minutes left to go. So we've sold through quite a bit of stuff, and I'd say I have maybe a quarter of a duffel bag left of restocks for plushies. It has now been a couple of weeks since the market has passed, but I figured I should go ahead and film the wrap up. So really the only other story I have to add in was I was a little frustrated at the end of the market because they came over the big speaker about 20 minutes before the end and told all of the customers to make their final purchases and head out. They did say there's 20 minutes left, but then told everyone to make their final purchases and leave. So why am I sitting there for the last 20 minutes if all of the customers have left? So many of the booths did start packing up at that point, but I did go ahead and wait, which wasn't really worth it because I don't believe I made any sales after that. Usually if I wait, I will make some sales, and I do typically make sales as I'm packing up, but that was not the case today. So we have a couple of best sellers. So we will do the top 5. So first place were herb strippers. I sold 6 of them among a variety of colors, but I definitely need to make some more herb strippers. It's a good thing that I've been in the studio last week and I plan to go again this week so that I have some herb strippers for my 2 November markets. In second place, it's nice to see them back at the top again, would be axolotls. I sold 5 of them. Now you might have seen the clip that I forgot to put them out at first, so it's a good thing I remembered, but that would have been a doozy. The reason I forgot was because at my last market I had the duplicates bag that were to like restock the shelf when something sold, and I opened the bag and thought that it was all duplicates, so I didn't take anything out of it, and that's where all of my axolotls were. So almost a big whoopsie. Then we have a tie for third place with ceramic mugs. So I'm not going to tell you the prices now. Once we get to the pottery segment, I will tell you how many mugs sold for what price. And then tied with them at 4 would be a pocket octopus. No surprise there. And then this is kind of loosely giving it a 5th place spot, but with 3 sold, we have the cat. So I did only have 4. I definitely need to restock, especially because as of filming this, my next market is a cat festival. So I really need to get around to making cat plushies. So if you have a favorite cat pattern that's not like the traditional loaf cat, drop it in the comments for me. But I'm going to go ahead and read off the rest of the things that sold at this market. And as always, the crochet patterns are linked in the description. I will do my best to throw up pictures to the best of my ability. Sometimes I don't have the picture on hand, but if I have it, I'll show it to you. We did sell 1 spider for $12. 2 leggy froggies for $14 each, 28 total. And then those hippos I made with velvet, I sold the small one. So they thought it was really cute, the tiny one. So they bought it for $16. We sold 2 possums for $16 each. I can never keep possums in stock. So seeing only 2 sell was definitely low for normal, but meant I had more to go on. We sold one mallard duck and no chickens. So like I've been mentioning, it seems like the mallard ducks and the chickens are phasing their way out of the bestsellers. So we will see how they do for the November markets, but I'm also at my stores, they're slowing down. So I'm thinking the mallard ducks and chickens might no longer be something I make frequently. Mushy boys, I sold 2, so those have also not really been selling lately. So I'm glad to see 2 sell, especially because I have a ton made. Then we sold 2 tofu turtles for $18 each. I'm not sure which color sold, but we've definitely hit the point where I also need to restock tofu turtles. So lots on the to-do list. And excitingly, we sold a dolphin. This was my only dolphin, so it was nice to kind of see it go. So I did arrange a little differently, where like the top shelf was kind of things I wanted to sell as opposed to bestsellers. So I don't know if that played into that selling, but it sold. We also sold 1 chick with frog hat, which I think is very low, especially compared to, now again, just because it's by the same people and it's Chocolate Festival doesn't mean it's the same thing. And they were an hour apart location wise, but they sold out at that market, I'm pretty sure. So only selling 1 was interesting. We also sold a booty turtle. Now these are very slow moving for me. I'm not sure if it's something I should make a lot of or not, but I did just buy a ton of Parfait Chunky off of somebody on Facebook Marketplace, so I have the colors if I want to make more. I just don't know. I do need to put them in my stores to see how they do there, but I'm not sure. My biggest issue with booty turtles is how do you display them? Because when I put them out, I try to have one with the shell off, and then people always put it back on. Or I get all the time people insisting it's a basket that it sits in rather than a turtle shell. I don't know, maybe it's just my area. And then last, for the smaller plushies, we sold 2 jellyfish for $21 each. Bigger items, I already mentioned all of these in the vlog clips, but I sold 2 of the baby squids, which is exciting because I have so many baby squids that I really need them to sell, because I was testing out all of the different chenille basics brights of the variegated colors, and I wanted to see them worked up. So I made 20 something baby squids, I don't know, but they're very slowly selling. And then the best sale of the night was my Jackalope. Now I made these for my last market, which was Jackalope Festival. If you haven't seen that video, I'll go ahead and tag it here. But no Jackalope plushies sold there, and I decided, because I had 2, that I was going to keep one. Here he is. I just think this is adorable, and it took me forever to make these. So this did sell for $96. And I was very shocked that they bought it, actually, because they came around. I remember this person because I liked their shirt. It was a cool, like, bird pun. But they said they were debating between, I think it was a mallard duck, a possum, or the jackalope. And then they said they were going to do a lap and come back, which doesn't guarantee anything. But these people, I had a feeling they were going to come back. And then they were looking around, and I was like, oh, definitely between the 3, they're not going to get the jackalope, because that's a big price difference between $16, $18, and $96. And then the guy they were with, which I assume is their partner, said, why don't you get 2? So I was like, oh, for sure they're going to get the possum and the mallard duck. No, they got the jackalope, and I forget which of the other 2 they got. But hands down, best customer of the night. At least it made me excited. And then we had some Halloween plushies to sell. So most of these are from previous years of making Halloween plushies, but I love making Halloween. So I usually go ham in July and August are when I make stuff, and then September, October, I just hope that they sell. So I have Halloween stuff out for 3 to 4 months of the year of markets. But We have a handful left of Halloween stuff. So at this market, we sold 2 of the mini ghosts for $16 each. 2 candy corn hat ghosts and 1 frog hat ghost, which I believe sold me out of hat ghosts, except for my small bee hat, which I still have, which is from last year. But speaking of the bee hat, the large bee hat sold. So that one was $55, again, from last year. But they are adorable, but they just took a while. That's why they cost so much. And I guess the bee hat just isn't as popular, because when I made them last year, I know I had a cat hat, and I want to say a frog hat for the large, and both of those sold. And like with my mini ghost, the frog hats and the candy corn hats sell really well. But that bee hat I've had for a while. Some people say they don't know what it is, so I don't know if that's it. I did have one customer joke that it was a booby, which I think is funny. But lastly, for Halloween, I sold a mini zombie, which those I just really want them all to sell and get out. But that sold for $16. So I also sold a bee crochet kit. I do remember opening it and talking to him about it, but again, it's been like 2 weeks, probably longer, since this market, so not too fresh in the head about how those interactions went. But that sold for $25, and I probably should have made like a new kit, made the pattern and the tutorial and all of that for the holiday season, but I haven't, and I don't know when I could fit that in. So I don't think that's gonna get done by the holiday season, or maybe it will. I've got December, I don't know. Then we did sell a handful of stickers. Now, if you're new here, I will remind you that my stickers are different prices based on how many you buy. So I sell them 1 for $3, 2 for $5, or 5 for $10. So based on that, you either spend $3, $2.50, or $2 per sticker. So it varies a lot, but a sticker sale is a sticker sale. So I do on my spreadsheet have them written down for what price they paid for it, but I'm not going to bore you with that information. So I do have some frogs holding pride flags, and I sold a handful of those. So we sold 1 of the agender, 1 bisexual, 1 lesbian, and 2 of the progress flags. And then for the punny pride stickers, we sold 2 ally fence, 1 biceratops, which someone mentioned to me that what's the wording? I lost my opportunity to give it 2 horns instead of 3, because it's a biceratops instead of a triceratops. But I had thought about that when I was designing it, but Henry convinced me not to. So, lost opportunity, that's what he said, I think. Then we sold 1 homosexual, 2 of the Jackalope stickers, 2 non-binosaur, 1 stegosaurus, and lastly 1 Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now for the pottery, I've kind of already told you what all sold, but I was very happy with the amount of pottery that did sell. I of course remembered when it was too close to the market that the kitchen stuff sold really well. Apologies, I ran out of storage. So anyway, I haven't done a kiln unloading since I want to say May, but it's been a while, so I've kind of been coasting off of all of the product I had made previously. But let me pull up the spreadsheet on my phone real quick. So I didn't have any garlic graters, but I am currently working on fixing that problem. I did have some herb strippers. I am starting to run low on herb strippers. I know I had one person ask me if I had a specific color, and I said unfortunately all that's on the table is all I have. So I do know blues sell really well, and my purple crystal, I think that's what the glaze was called, sold out pretty quickly. So I definitely have certain glazes that I definitely need to make once I get around to doing that, which is very soon, because the goal is to have it done that first full week of November. I'm doing all of my kiln firings so that by November 9th at the cat market that I will have more pottery. So I did mention we sold 6 of the herb strippers, so we're now very low, especially after the next market that you'll see a video on next week. But we did sell 4 mugs. Now I can't exactly show you all the pictures, it would just take me too long and I don't want to. But I sold 2 hand warmer mugs. So it's your hand that goes, pretend this hand is clay. It goes into the mug and then you kind of like grip it on the outside. I'll try to find a generic picture of that. But I sold 2 of those, one for $24.50, one for $27.50. I kind of have a formula for how I price my mugs based on what all I add to them and the size of them, but I am currently working on getting a more accurate pricing so I know like how long things take me in the pottery studio. I'm currently working towards that. I do have a very detailed list so I can figure out for crochet how much materials and wage went into it, but I'm still working on that for the pottery. But the other 2 mugs that sold, one was for $27.50 and one was for $35. So, what you're all been waiting for, or possibly skipped forward to, how much did I actually make at this market? So, I'm going to break it down by piece. So, crochet kits made us $25. Stickers made us $28.50. Pottery made us $210. And crochet plushies for the biggest category was $806 for a grand total of, that math doesn't math, $1,074.50. So one of those numbers is not going to match what was on the screen because that math did not equal the right number. But that $1,000 is not all profit, so I didn't quite reach my $1,200 goal, and that's okay. I mean, it would have been nice to reach that goal, but what really matters is did we profit after you take out all of the business costs. So we'll go over that now. So all of these numbers will be on the screen as well for you to see. So from the $1,074.50, we have to subtract out the ridiculously expensive booth fee of $357. That's normally the price I pay for a 2-day market or a 3-day. So for it to be for 1 day, that is hefty. But when I looked back at April, seeing I had made $17.50, I was like, I can pay that price again. But I didn't quite make as much money. So then to subtract out material costs, again, it's kind of estimated for pottery, but for crochet, it's pretty accurate. About $123.03 was spent on materials for the products that sold, only the products that sold. And then labor to make the products that sold came out to about $458.04, and then labor to work the booth came out to $133. Now, yes, you deserve to pay yourself to work a market. Just because it's your business doesn't mean you shouldn't get paid to work the market. Markets are exhausting. And currently I only pay myself for actual sales hours. I don't calculate yet the setup and tear down just because the business can't afford that quite yet. But that brings the grand total of profit to, drumroll, $3.42. So technically, yes, I did pay all of my business costs, but $3 of profit, not great. I would do this market again, I think. When you take into consideration the April one and this one, I think I would do it again. But if this was the first time I had done this market, I don't think I'd go back again. So if we end up not moving, we'll have to find out. I would definitely give it a third go because they do, I think, 4 a year. But I would do it again, and then based on how that one goes, determine whether or not these chocolate festivals are worth it, because that is a hefty booth fee. But I am doing another market by these same people. The cat festival is by these same people, so hopefully that one does well. It was a little cheaper, but it still came out to, I think it was $303.85. So hopefully that one does better. But like I mentioned, there will be another market video next week, and then 2 more coming soon throughout November for those 2 markets. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We have lots of fun here, whether it's market prepping, going to markets, looking at my stores I sell in, doing market challenges, all of that stuff. So hit that subscribe button and join the family. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you would ever pay $357 for a one-day market, or if I'm crazy. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!